Hello everyone, welcome back to MyFIntelligence. Today we are doing a day in the life with our guest, Marco. Marco, thank you so much for joining us, and can you start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. First of all, I think it's a great idea, and I wish I had something like that when I was starting to look for jobs. I had an exchange program in Toronto, in Rotman, and I did my bachelor and my master's degree, which I'm currently finishing in Milan, in Bocconi University. I started to work in a startup company first year master's, so around 1 year ago, and then this summer I moved to Amazon for an internship first, and now I landed full-time job, and I'm now a full-time analyst at Amazon.
That's amazing, Marco. If you don't mind me asking, what were you studying, and what were these positions, like the title of the positions?
So for the bachelor, I was studying management, business administration, and I was doing an exchange in Rotman Commerce, so also management. And now for my master's degree, I'm studying accounting, financial management, and control. So it's a bit more specific into the corporate finance.
Okay, very cool. So actually, let's talk a little bit about your startup experience. Can you tell us what exactly you were doing there? What was your position and what were some of your daily tasks?
Yeah, so it's obviously very hard in a startup to define a clear position because it was the very beginning of the company, and like in many startups, you have something that you focus the most on, but then it really varies depending on what are the needs of the company, especially when it's so small. I was there as an accountant though. I started at the beginning of 2019, which was the time when in Italy there was a switch, and basically electronic invoices began to be compulsory for all the companies. So I was dealing with moving all the invoices to the electronic database and electronic systems. First of all, it was an internship for 6 months, and during these 6 months, I was doing analysis of the competitors, of the resellers, because this company deals with basically manufacturing and creating luxury bedroom furniture. So I was doing the analysis of all the channels, of all the customers that we had, profitability of the orders. So from accountant, it moved more into an analyst position maybe. And then after the 6 months, I got the full-time job and I stayed there for 1 year.
So can you tell us a bit about how you managed to get all this working experience while doing your MBA? Is that like woven into your MBA program to take that time off to work, or were you managing it while doing school?
It's not an MBA. First, in Italy, we have the second layer, which is much more common compared to North America, which is Master of Science. But it's much more people tend to do that in terms of like after bachelor, there's not many opportunities within the country if you don't have a Master of Science degree. So that's pretty common for Italian people to do that. And it's usually 2 years in Italy, 1 year if you go abroad. So there is a time slot in the 4 semesters. One of them is only the internship, which is compulsory. So you have to do an internship, and it has to last 6 months. In that period, there is no classes, no exams. So that's more or less when I started working. Then I managed for a short period of time to do both things. And then basically COVID happened. So all the classes, all the exams moved online. So I was able to move here to Poland, where I'm currently, and start with Amazon and follow classes online at my own pace and do exams online, maybe taking 1 day off when I need it.
I love how international MyFIntelligence is getting. This is amazing. I want to know more about the financial analyst role at Amazon. If you could tell us a little bit more about that and what you were doing there.
In Amazon, they have this very peculiar thing, which is actually you have technically more work as an intern than as a full-time analyst. Of course, then the depth and the level of the work is different compared to what the analyst is doing. Basically, within Amazon, they treat you from day one, they treat you as a full-time analyst and they expect you to do the work of a full-time analyst. On top of that, usually you have a project that you have to deliver, which is either creating some sort of dashboard that displays data in such a way that is making life easier for other analysts or for operations. So what I was doing is exactly that, shadowing my let's say my buddy, that's how they call him. I was bridging information, like week over week information, month over month, just to see how the productivity of the building was going, stuff like that. And then I was also creating a project which was based on Power BI. It's a tool from Microsoft that is kind of like Tableau, very similar. And yeah, and then I moved to full time, and you're still doing some projects, but that's mostly on you. If you want some more exposure, you do that. Otherwise, you are expected to do commenting, analyzing some data, and in general, depending on what operations managers need, it may vary a lot.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that operations managers might ask from you? Like what kind of metrics do they track, like average inventory turnover, things like that? Or if you could just tell some of the basic metrics that you had to keep track of or analyze.
The most important thing in Amazon is the plans that you have. You have an overall year plan, which is, of course, there's many variations. So mainly they're tracking how the building is doing against the plan, and they want to know what happened and why that we're not achieving or we're overachieving or what is going on basically in the building. On top of that, each manager can come up with different questions. For example, it was peak time in Amazon right before Christmas. And what happens after Christmas is that most people tend to take holidays right after because they're tired. So what they were asking for is to have a proxy of how many people from past years, or what is the historical trend, how many people were taking holidays right before, in order to be able to plan how many people to hire, stuff like that. And usually we have huge databases, and we use a lot of SQL to extract data and display it on Power BI or on Excel, which are the main tools that we use: Power BI, Excel, and a lot of SQL queries. Not much PowerPoint. Amazon is quite against PowerPoint, actually. So we're using Word docs a lot. There's a peculiar policy in Amazon where everything that you can explain that you have to present is written on a 6-pager document. And at the beginning of a meeting, everyone is just very weird at the beginning when you're very new. And everyone is just sitting there. Everyone is reading everything in silence. And there's the first 10 minutes of every meeting when there's some presentation or stuff like that. It's everyone going through their own Word doc, and it's pretty peculiar. So those are the main tools that we use, and for those purposes.
That's really cool. I've never heard of something like that before. Interesting, I guess. I'm not surprised that Amazon has their own way of doing things. But so you mentioned some of those tools like SQL and Power BI. Can you tell us, for those watching who don't know what it is, first of all, what those tools are used for generally? And also, can you tell us a bit about how you yourself learned to use them? Was it something that you learned at school, or were you taught on the job?
So Excel I learned at school, but I thought I was quite good with it. But when you arrive inside and you are just realizing how big is the depth of the data that you're analyzing, and how huge is the various databases are, you really know that you don't know enough. One of the main policies and one of the main principles in Amazon, when you are responsible for your own growth, and they want you to learn and to do it by yourself with the help of all the people that you might need, but they want you to go through it. So many things you learn there. SQL is more of it's not a tool really, it's let's call it coding language. Is basically a language that you use to extract data from databases. So that I had no idea what it was. I had no clue. And I started from the first days. My manager was kind of supporting me, sending me videos and tutorials. There's many courses in Amazon that you have to do before starting to work. So the first week or so is basically you learning how to do the work and practicing. And it took me around 2 or 3 weeks to have a decent knowledge of SQL and start doing some work on my own. So that's the second thing. And Power BI is a tool by Microsoft, as I told you, that is similar to Tableau. So once you have the data, once you gathered all the data from an SQL query or from Excel or whatever the data source might be, basically you create visuals and you display this data in a way that is much more comprehensible for someone who doesn't know what you did, because we have to remember, as ops finance, we're supporting operations, and in many cases they don't know how to read a complicated SQL query, or you can't give them a million rows in Excel and say, here's your data. So basically Power BI is the second part of my job, which is once I gather everything that I need, I display it and I present it to the managers, to the senior managers, in such a way that is comprehensible for them.
Is Power BI similar to VBA?
No, VBA is, let's say, a way to automate Microsoft Excel tasks. So let's say if you, from a query, export some data, which is a million rows, and every time you have to go to the second column, delete it, the third you have to put it in, I don't know, in red or in bold, and you do that every week, you can create, let's say, some algorithm that does it for you. And that's VBA. It's like an automation of Excel, whereas Power BI is more like, I don't know if you're familiar with Tableau, but it's very, very similar. Let's say the closest thing could be a pivot table in Excel, maybe, except you're showing summarized data, whereas in Power BI, you're showing mostly visuals.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Also, that is so cool. They give you so many resources before you actually start the job.
We have many portals where we can just find what we need, what we would like to know, and just do it for free. Some courses are mandatory when you're starting. For example, data analysis course, it's like SQL, stuff like that. If you're not familiar, you have to do it. But the rest of it, it's there waiting for you to watch it, waiting for you to learn. It's entirely up to you. And sometimes if you do some courses, it's even, they pay you, it's in your paid time. So it's not something that you're doing on your own when you finish. Wow. Sometimes it's even paid time, yeah.
So since you're working in Poland, what language do you speak at Amazon? Is English international language, or do you speak Polish or another language?
Polish is the most difficult language in the world. Okay. I can't speak a word of Polish. It's only English in my daily routine. And basically from a certain level of seniority, everyone is required to speak English.
And okay, given everything that you've told us, how was the hours? Did it ever get a little bit overwhelming? What was the workload like?
It changed during time. I had to adjust because, of course, when you're at the beginning and you have a lot of things and you're not sure how to do it in the best way or in the fastest way, you're losing a lot of time. But people are very, very supportive and they help you a lot. The fullest day is Monday. Monday, it could be anything between 8 hours and 15 hours. I've had Mondays where I started at 8 and finished at 4 p.m. I've had Mondays where I started at 8 a.m. or 7:30 and finished at midnight. So it really depends on the time of the year, especially during peak time. It can get very overwhelming and then very full of stuff to do. And it also depends on the network, because Amazon is based on networks, and basically the German network, which is Amazon DE, is serving Germany and Austria, but the fulfillment centers are located in Poland, Czech Republic, Austria, and Germany. There's a lot of stuff going on during peak. On normal weeks, it's basically 40 hours, and it's flexible. Like you can start 8:30, 7:30, 9, depending on what is the best for you. Some days are just crazy.
It's important that it's just not always crazy, I think. And
it's not investment banking. It's not M&A. Yeah. That's for sure.
Oh, that's great. But so hearing about your job, it sounds like really a lot of data analysis. So would you call that something like big data? Is this like a big data job? I know that's something that's like pretty big now in infiltrating finance as well. So would you say like that's like a description of your job?
It is a data analyst, I would say, with working with a lot of data in terms of the quantity. Amazon is very, very focused on data, starting from hiring to everything. For example, even when during recruitment processes, they're telling you to focus on data. When you give examples, focus on data, provide the numbers. Everything is based on data. Promotions, everything. You have to provide numbers to explain what you did. And every analysis that you do has to bring numbers.
Awesome. And what is one piece of advice that you have for somebody who, like yourself, was in a business program to make that transition, make that leap, to work with a lot of data, to handle all this stuff? I guess it's a little bit more on the tech key side.
I mean, I was totally not that type of person. I was really scared of like going through in-depth statistics analysis that I didn't know much about, that you've heard during courses, but it's not something that you're doing every day. So don't be scared. I mean, you learn a lot. It was a great opportunity for me to learn, and you really realize that this is stuff that you're going to use in your future, whether you're staying in Amazon or not. This is stuff that is needed in the workplace. Definitely companies are asking for this. And basically everyone getting out, or most of the people going out of business school, are doing some sort of analyst job. Very different from each other, but there is some component of gathering the data, processing it, and displaying it. And probably Amazon is one of the best ways to do that, because of the possibilities of learning without any limit. Like you're your only limit. Your time and then your willingness to learn more is your limit. It can get tough, but it's a very, very good opportunity. So I was totally not that geek type, like technical type of person. I learned here, and it's nothing to be scared of. It's a great company to be in, but I am sure that what I'm learning here is worth many years in other companies.
Very fair. Awesome. Thank you. People like me definitely need to hear that, because I hear Amazon, I hear tech, and I run in the complete opposite direction. So thank you so much for that, Marco. We definitely learned a lot. I hope you guys did as well. Make sure to check out Marco's Land the Job video to learn how he landed this amazing Amazon position. Thank you, guys.